So that now that we have the model done, let's throw the texture on it. So I'm going to use my fantastic texture here. I'm just going to drag and drop it onto it so it's on there. Yes, you can actually do that if you didn't know. Now, obviously, it's a complete and utter disaster. The UVs are all over the place. So I'm going to stick a UV unwrap on this, and you can see that the unwrap is really, it's a disaster. So what I'm going to do is make sure I turn off select ignore backfacing. The ignore backfacing button's going to make it a little harder for us to select everything. I'm going to select all the polygons, make sure I have everything picked. Okay. And then I'm going to do this big blanket quick planar map. What it's going to do is create a map that has no seams whatsoever on it. So it's just one big piece now in the UV window, which is obviously not what we want. That's not looking so good. So what I have is material already made. So you can just go and pick it off here, and you're going to find that it gives you this material. What I've done is I've just taken a physical material. I've thrown the normal bump in there. Um, and the only reason I've done this is just so I can control what it looks like. I don't want this material over in Unreal. I'm going to build my own. I'm going to use one of my reusable materials over there. I just wanted to be able to control that ugly shininess and everything else. And I also set the tiling of the map to be 2 by 2. I think I may have forgotten to do it here. Yes, it's got to be 2 by 2 here as well. Just to tile the map up a bit more because it's a tileable texture. I can do that. So um, you can see that we've got this map. It looks bumpy. It's kind of cool. We need to make this look the same. So this kind of follows everything except for these butt ugly seams that we're not going to be too concerned with. How are we going to go about breaking this up? So let's start breaking this into pieces real fast. You can use the select, the select with the whatever called magic wand sort of thing, and we can start breaking chunks off. So I'm going to grab that piece, right click in the UV window and say break. So it just broke that chunk off. I could go in and break off the bottom pieces, or again I could break these off. So it might be better just to break these off. So I'm just going to say break and break, and I'm just going to, you could also do it by the edges. Sometimes I find it easier just to do this. And you should really be checking underneath, but I've got a pretty good idea of what I'm doing, so I know that I haven't. So now what I should have is I should have it just select my element on. That's also broken off now on the bottom. Looks like I might have missed. Oh yeah, it went up the side here. So let's grab this chunk and those ones there, and let's just do a quick planar map to break that piece off. And then that one will be separated there. Cool. So that one's flattened out there. Now we need to split these and work with these a bit more. So we've got all of these in the middle here. So we want to break these off as well. So again, I can go to my selection and use the spray bomb if I want, and grab all those, and then just make sure I don't have anything else, because I didn't have backface cull on, which I should. So if I do that, I shouldn't be getting all the way through. Just make sure. I'm going to break that off. Okay. Now, if we're doing a really good job, we'd have a different texture map for these pieces here with the rings in it or whatever. We're just not bothering. Okay. Edge mode. I'm going to grab this edge, and here's one of those things to note. If I hit loop in this window here over in the modifier, it's going to continue going right through the entire model. If I do it over here, it'll stop at the edges of the UV islands. So I'm going to hit loop, and I've got it there, and I'm going to go break. And then I'm going to break it off into maybe a few other chunks too. That one as well. Let's see, where do I want to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe there. And I'm going to go break. And you want these reasonably even sized pieces. I'm going to say break, and then probably right there, break. And what I should be able to do now is grab at least all of these and peel them. and I should have a bunch of flat pieces, um, uh, that are flattened out. Now actually do it in the face mode. I find it's a better idea. So I'm just going to go peel, and there they are there. So there's a bunch of pieces that have been pulled flat all the way around. Okay, so we're going to work with those in a minute. Just going to pull them off to the side, and then we got to break each one of these down a little bit more. So the way to do that again is in the edge mode. I'm going to go take one of these, and you can see there's a seam down the center now all the way across the top. Well, I'm going to deselect that down to the tip there, but don't deselect the very end if you've done it the same way I have, and break that and back, and you can say peel, and that's been flattened as well now. So I'm just going to do that to each one of these. Okay, so I have all the pieces unwrapped here and just spread out. Let's start working with these. I'm just going to tell it to pack them, and I know they're all going to need to be bigger, so I'm just going to hold down Control and bring them up about to one piece fitting that space, and just stick them off to the side. So each one of these fills this space. Let's show that texture. So because the texture is already on there, it should come up in the list. So I'm going to show that tree bark texture. So there's my tree bark texture now. It is being tiled to twice this. So, you're going to see slightly different results here, but we're not that concerned with that. Let's start lining things up. Let's grab a section. Okay, this goes all the way up and over, back down. We could break that off if we wanted. And we want to know which the top is. So, finding the top can be easy, just grabbing things. So that's all the top pieces up there. So I'm just going to grab this, and I'm going to rotate it into approximate size. And you'll see that for the most part, it's going on correctly, except this is not going on correctly here. You can see it's going sideways. We don't want to leave it like that. So we have to straighten this out. So we're going to turn on peel mode. Now we've already peeled it, but we're going to turn on peel mode, and it'll snap back. That's because it's tried to, essentially keep it even in X and Y, the texture size. But I'm really not that concerned about that. I kind of more concerned that it fills the texture space. I'm going to turn off select by element, turn on vertex mode, and now you can see there's a pin there and a pin there, but if I grab and move a corner, it'll pin those corners as well. So I'm just going to use this to pin, select this pin, I don't want it anymore, remove it, and maybe I do want it, probably, and just try and straighten it out a bit. And you see it's constantly trying to reshape itself. That's because it's doing its best job possible to keep the UVs non-stretching. So you're going to have to grab several of them. You could just start trying to pull vertices, but then you have to worry about spreading out other ones. So I just sort of worry about doing it this way, and you'll see it recalc when you grab it. And so I'm trying to get it so it looks pretty even. Now right here, it's a bit of a mess, and that's this section in here somewhere. So I need to sort of figure out which way to shove all this to get it to kind of even itself out a bit and look somewhat, normal. And that, so I start with sort of big moving errors with the pinning, and I get it close enough. And hey, you know what? Is it going to matter from this point on? Is it really? It's a game. Good enough. So you can see that the textures fit in there. Okay. And so I've already got these ones in here. Maybe I can stuff those there. It wouldn't matter, I don't think. Okay. It's close enough. It essentially fits the area for the most part. It's not perfect. It's not amazing. I'm going to go back by select by faces, and I'm just going to say hide selection. And I'm going to go over to the next piece. So that's going to be this one up here. So select by element, grab this, same thing, line it up in the same way. Now this one's got this extra piece in it. I'm going to put it into peel mode again. So for whatever reason, you have to tab it off, tab it back on for the new object. Back into vertex mode, element off, don't leave element on. It'll create a complete mess on you. I'm going to pull that one over. I'm going to get rid of this one. And I'm going to pull that one that way for now because it'll probably, this little piece has got to sit down. So maybe we do need that one. I'll stick that there. And let's bring that one down, maybe one on the other side. And you can see it's kind of weird the way it works, eh? This is why you might want to break it up more. You might want to break off the inside pieces. It's entirely up to you what you do there. I don't find this bothers me. I kind of know what it's doing. And I can see the mess. I'm able to look at it and determine what needs to happen and what needs to go where to get it to work. And I'm watching this just to make sure that it comes up as clean as possible, as straight as possible. This is obviously just a complete mess in here right now. So that's going to have to get straightened out as well. So that looks pretty good. And if you're wondering how this seam is doing, because we have a seam here now, let's see how good a job we've done. So I'm just going to pull these right over to the edge pretty much. I don't care about the top and bottom as much. This is probably better if it's straight up with the edge more. Now it is not going to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm going to take it right to the edge so it tiles side to side reasonably well. Pretty good down this side. So if we go and turn everything off, turn off the edge mode here, and actually in the UV unwrap, when I say don't show me the map seams, can you see the seam down there? It's basically gone. Like it's there, but you really can't see it that well. So is this the best thing going? Absolutely not. So I'm going to do that to the rest of these pieces, the rest of these pieces, and just hide them each time I get them right. So I'm going to go in and grab each one of these, move it in, and resolve it. I'll be right back. So I've got these ones going. Again, you can see that the seam is really hard to see anywhere all the way around there. It looks really good, and there's 4 seams around it. Just because the way the texture's been done, you really can't tell that well. So now it's for these. Now these ones you need to go in and lay down. But in a lot of cases, I find that I'm just going to point them in the right direction, and I'm going to just kind of make the texture look like it fits. And sometimes that means just stretching it a bit and see if you can get it to fit. And again, you notice what I've got here isn't even in the area. It's a tileable texture, so who really cares? So it kind of works. It comes down and around. It looks a little odd. Again, how you rotate it is going to make a difference to that. Or you could try and flatten it completely. And again, use the pinning, and pin it into the corners more. And jam it up into the corners. And you can see now you can also get it to work quite well. And you can get it to sort of stretch down into the bottom part a bit more. So you can get it sort of taper down into it if you want. So that's one way to do it. The other way is just if it looks good enough and it looks clean. And when I mean good enough, I mean good enough for production, not good enough for you because you don't feel like doing it. Because I'll obviously tell you it's not good enough. So that certainly doesn't look bad. Seam here, of course, like I said, there's no way to get around that with a tileable texture, this sudden change here, but who's really going to notice when it's off in the distance or something you're just running around? You're just not going to see it, and it just won't matter that much. So now once you've got all those pieces in there, you can tile the texture as much as you want, and it'll work for the most part. As long as you usually stay to whole numbers around it, it would be better. 1, 2, whatever. And again, you may have to go in and sort of resize the texture itself, the grain in the texture in a sense, and make them bigger or smaller. But you know what? That's probably going to work perfectly fine up in a tree. I just need to get the rest of these unwrapped, and I'm done. Essentially, make the material, export it out to Unreal Engine, and I'm good to go. The centerpiece I'm going to pack in there. I'm not even going to worry that it's the rings at this point. Is it good enough? Again, I don't have time to worry about it too much. We got to get the project done is the big key here. So if I was doing it good, the inside's got to be different than the outside. This has got to have a different texture. And of course, no seams, and we'd be painting it in substance. We'd take hours and hours and hours and a couple days on a tree stump. And I've managed to do a tutorial now inside of, whatever it is. I don't know, an hour, not even 45 minutes or something, and actually do it for you. Okay.